Oh, yeah. It's about that time. 7:10. It's Friday. Wish I had rights to songs. I'd play some Friday night songs. You guys ready for Friday? We get on the road today. It's going to be a fun weekend. Hope you guys got a fun weekend planned. We got Florida Groves Fest coming up. We got the fundraiser for Ryan Morales. We got the Bud Bash. And we're going up to Pennsylvania. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing this weekend? You know what we're talking about today? New York. Place where I'm from. New York. Awarding some marijuana licenses. New Jersey. About to go wreck. Calling it the Trichrome state area. That's my joke for today. So let's get into it. New York regulators have finally approved the first round of marijuana cultivation licenses. And they've actually revised the home grow rules for medical patients. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the 710 report. And New York City, the tri-state area, New Jersey, it's all going down up there. We're looking at the day after 420 for them to legalize rec in New Jersey. And we're looking at right now, they've approved the first round of new cultivator licenses for recreational marijuana in New York. And it's pretty intense that because they have approved 52 of these conditional licenses. And the reason it's so exciting is these are all hemp companies. These are all existing hemp companies that are basically making the flip. They're making the flip over to cannabis, which has huge implications for Florida and many other states, and is the reason a lot of hemp companies have started. A reason a lot of people got into hemp is so that they can flip over to cannabis. So that's pretty exciting. The Cannabis Control Board also approved revised regulations to allow medical marijuana patients to grow their own plants for personal use. Now, they used to have certain flower limits on what you could grow, and now they've expanded those so that you can grow more. And now it says that you can grow outside as long as it's not visible to the public. I guess if you have like a greenhouse that you can, or you can fence it in. People like to fence things in New York. It's funny because there are a lot of gardens around New York City, and I'm speaking of New York City because that's predominantly what I'm familiar with. But there are gardens everywhere. I used to walk by this one house that had a garden. They had zucchini growing, and the zucchini would come over their fence, like onto the sidewalk. These huge zucchini, and we would steal the zucchini like right off the vine. But there are people that grow lots of stuff. My old bandmate, Chris, he had an unusual property in the Bronx, and he had a vineyard in his backyard. It was an unusual, kind of space in his backyard. And his grandparents had a vineyard, like trellises with grapes and stuff, and they made wine. So there's a lot of people that can do some boutique growing. And if you can grow outside in New York, I think that's going to be a big thing. So not only are these licenses being awarded in New York, but we've also got New Jersey, right? So if anybody knows anything about New York and New Jersey are very closely tied. How closely tied? The New York Giants and the New York Jets play in New Jersey. I mean, come on. That's a little ridiculous, don't you think? They fight over the Statue of Liberty. Who owns Liberty Island? I don't know. Who wants it? Staten Island might as well be part of New Jersey because it just kind of sits right in there. So New Jersey and New York are very closely tied. So if one of them is going to have recreational marijuana, the other one has definitely got to have it. New Jersey is actually known for having lower taxes on things. So people go shopping in Jersey and come back to New York. So maybe that'll translate over the marijuana market. But right now in New Jersey, they are set to go legal the day after 420. Why the day after 420? Your guess is as good as mine, because they didn't want to open on 420. They were like, no, that's too convenient. But the governor of New Jersey on Thursday announced that adults 21 and older will be able to buy marijuana from select dispensaries starting on April 21st, the day after the unofficial cannabis holiday 420. A new memo from the state's attorney general's office says that the police can partake too as long as they're off duty. As long as they're off duty. So no smoking with the cops in uniform. Governor Phil Murphy touted the long-awaited first round of adult use retailer approvals from the New Jersey Cannabis Regulators Commission, calling the action a historic step in our work to create a new cannabis industry. So 7 existing medical cannabis businesses have been cleared to begin servicing the recreational market at 13 dispensaries across the state. 13 in the entire state of New Jersey. What exit? I'm this is going to be like turnpike weed and like there's all sorts of like no left turn cannabis, pump your own gas cannabis. What exit? They're just going to name strains after different exits. Woodbridge. Jersey is an interesting place, so be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. There's very different types of areas of Jersey, just like New York. So it should be interesting to see how it all plays out. Advocates, stakeholders, and consumers have been eager to see regulators make this move as it comes more than a year after voters approved the legalization referendum on the ballot. Ensuring that equity is built into the industry and making sure that there's enough supply to ensure access for medical cannabis patients are some of the reasons for the delayed rollout. So they want to make sure that it's not just the big MSOs that are taking part in this legalization, but that there is equity. And it's really kind of refreshing to see such a focus on this, and not just you're not talking about equity as far as I think like diversity of ethnicity, but I think it's more of a diversity of access. It's not just the big conglomerates that are able to have a piece of that market. And it's important because, you know, a lot of these companies started with a lot of capital that they were able to raise, and they've got this big foothold in the cannabis market. And without some kind of protections for a small business, what I always learned about in school, and you know, I remember learning about monopolies in school, and I remember calling out what a company could do before they taught us about monopolies. So they were teaching us about how, you know, capitalism works and how one company can, you know, be this can sell this product for this amount of money because, you know, the more they sell or the more they make, the cheaper it costs for them to make it. And I remember saying, well, how come that company, like, what's to prevent that company from just dropping their price to like below cost for another company and putting everybody else out of business and then raising their costs again? And they were like, well, that's illegal. That's, you know, a monopoly. So there's a lot of reasons that you need to kind of regulate. You cannot, I don't think you can have unregulated, unfettered capitalism. I just don't think that I think there's too many confounders, right? I think it's a great idea, but there's too many, we're too human to do that. And there's too much manipulation and too many bad actors to be able to have just unfettered capitalism. Especially with the psychological kind of stuff that people can use to sell stuff. So we need to have some kind of regulation there. So in order to keep, you know, big conglomerates from just dominating the market, we're going to drop prices. We're going to put all these little guys out and stuff. You have to have some protection, some, you know, ability to get licenses, ability to get funding. And then it becomes about being able to compete. And then it becomes about you know, what your quality is, what your, not just the quality of your product, but your, you know, what is your value? Why should people come to your small business than the conglomerate, other than, you know, whatever values they have, you know, corporately or something like that, or ethically, you know, why should they come to you? You're going to have, you know, exclusive strains, exclusive products. You grow a certain way. Do you have a certain ethos? There has to be something that hooks you. It can't just be, well, I'm just the, you know, another small business that, you know, is just in direct competition with one of these big businesses. That's not going to work. You can see it kind of in the craft beer, and I don't like comparing marijuana to alcohol, but at the same time, you look at craft beer and you can see like the alcohol industry is like that. It's a conglomerate. There aren't that many beer companies, big beer companies. And but there are a lot of brands. So in order for these small breweries and to exist, they have to charge a lot more for their beer. I mean, a can of Budweiser, I mean, a can of something from Cigar City Brewing, when you're buying it at the store, is going to cost you 3 to 4 times as much as a can of Budweiser, right? But people are willing to pay it because there's a lot of branding that goes along with it. There's a quality to the product that they don't get somewhere else. There's a locality to it. People like to buy local things. So a lot of the microbreweries are local. So like, hey, this is, Cigar City is in Tampa. You got Coppertail also in Tampa. You got Funky Buddha down here. And they're able to, get their product out there because people are looking for something other than what these, bigger companies are offering. And the bigger companies try to offer the same types of things, like, like Oktoberfest, like Sam Adams Oktoberfest, and they're trying to be crafty with the stuff. And ultimately they'll end up buying some of the smaller businesses, but that's just, how business shakes out. And to see like a lot of effort being put into trying to make it diverse, trying not to let, it just become a corporatocracy of marijuana companies, I think is really inspiring. At least it's inspiring to me because, I think it's important, and one of the things that is, a danger is that everything gets commercialized and exploited. And, I kind of go on this rant about high THC all the time. Because it's just crazy to see the kind of stuff in front of you. It's crazy to see it in front of you and be like, oh, they're just marketing with numbers, and that's not good for, people that are going to ultimately take in too much THC possibly. So we have to be really cognizant of the market and what's being sold to us as opposed to what we necessarily need. When it comes to other things, I mean, basically what they're doing is they're taking money like from you. So like, for instance, like your iPhone, right? There's always upgrades and, they're designed to fail and, stuff like that. So you're always prompted to buy more stuff as consumerism. But when it comes to something like marijuana or psychedelics, even more so, there are things that, it's not necessarily good for you to consume all of this, like you can almost liken it to food. There are food commercials constantly on TV. We're constantly being bombarded with food advertising and food marketing. And the reality is we don't need to eat that much. We can survive on a lot less than that. And the ramifications of excessive food marketing, I think, are felt in our healthcare system, and the fact that cholesterol medication is the most widely prescribed medication on earth, and closely followed by insulin and diabetes medication, type 2 diabetes medication, stuff that's preventable. Two of these things are entirely preventable and almost entirely caused by poor diet. And I think, that poor diet is intrinsically linked to all of this food marketing. And it starts with the food pyramid that was, written to sell more bread. We're the bread basket of the world, and we, produce all this grain in this country. So why would we tell people not to eat grain? That makes no sense unless you want them to be healthy. So I think that there's a lot of bad that can come from a lot of the marketing when it comes to cannabis. So we have to be really cognizant of that. So, but we also have to remember that we're here on Earth in New York. I love this because I feel like I'm on CNN. I was telling Colleen this morning, I was like, oh, watch, you'll see. I'm going to be like these guys. So I put the jacket on because I feel like the background is very newsy today. Hope you guys are enjoying the newsy background. But we're headed up north soon next week for the Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival. Super excited about that. And then we've got a really, really busy schedule coming up now. We're going to be leaving right after this broadcast here. We're going to be going to pick up our friend Jenny Big Crow, and then we're going to be headed over to Orlando to meet up with some people. And tonight is the fundraiser for Ryan Morales. Ryan Morales for Florida is running for Commissioner of Agriculture. It's really kind of great to be invited to and to be, hosting this fundraiser for what could be, or who could be the person that's next in charge of the recreational cannabis industry here in Florida. So if cannabis goes recreational, it most likely will not be regulated by the Department of Health because it's not medical marijuana any longer. The medical marijuana program may remain controlled by the Department of Health, but the actual cannabis growing and selling of recreational is going to go under the Department of Agriculture. Right now, Nikki Fried is the commissioner, and if it were now that things were getting legalized, that would be awesome to have Nikki in there. But imagine if in a couple of years it's legalized in 2 years, and we have a very cannabis unfriendly commissioner of agriculture. We've already seen what having a cannabis unfriendly governor would do in this state. We've seen what they've tried to do to the system. They tried to destroy the medical marijuana system. No smoking marijuana, no edibles. These are the 2 rules that they came out with. No smokable, no edibles after medical marijuana was already passed. That is a deliberate attack on the will of the people on a law that was passed. So if you can imagine, recreational marijuana passes, right? The people come out and vote and they make their will heard. And then you have someone who has their own personal ideals, right? That is anti-marijuana in the position to regulate it. That's a huge problem. So I don't think enough is being made about this right now. And I feel like I can only shout as loud as I possibly can. I have this platform, and that's, some stuff on Instagram. But if we don't make sure that the next commissioner of agriculture, whether it be Ryan or Nurse Colleen, is cannabis friendly, we're going to have a really big problem with the market here. A really, really, really big problem. And I don't think anybody's really seeing that coming. So Ryan is not only super common sense, like he is just like super down to earth, understands a lot of things about, politics, about getting things done as far as, cleaning up the environment. And he has great intention. He's a good person, right? And there aren't a lot of those in politics. There aren't a lot of people, he's not been in politics long enough to be a jerk off so far. So hopefully he can maintain that level of integrity once in politics. So you got to look to the future, and you can't just think of like, whoever's in there is in there. Ryan is not only, pragmatic and, surrounds himself with smart people, he likes us, so he must have good judgment. So we need to make sure that somebody like Ryan, and Ryan kind of checks off a lot of the boxes for me. He's pro cannabis, pro psychedelics, wants to clean up the water, get rid of this blue green algae that causes this red tide. Want to use hemp barges to do that. I mean, really wants to make change, and it's refreshing to see that. So I invite everybody to come out for that. You can check out our Instagram page at Florida Cannabis Coalition or at Cannadelic Miami, and you can find some more information about that. You can go to ryanforflorida.com, and it's going to be in Clermont at a farm. It's going to be pretty awesome. I'm pretty psyched for it. Got a lot of friends coming out for it, and I think they're going to maybe sing happy birthday to me, even though it's a little early. I don't know. I'm not super excited about getting to 45 5 days before I'm supposed to, but I am excited to go hang out with everybody. And then the next day, we're headed over to Florida Groves Fest, which Julia Marley, the Expendables, which was like the rest of the Marleys. Lots of funky reggae and glass blowing and vendors and good times and friends, and super proud of the Dab Day crew for putting this on. I'm telling you, I when I'm talking to Cody on the phone, I'm feeling the nervousness like for them. I can't imagine putting on something this big. But it's just all great. I'm just so excited and so proud of them and so happy to see this, actually materializing in Florida. So I'm super psyched. Looking forward to that. If you want tickets, let us know. We may be able to grab you some tickets. And then we're headed back to Fort Lauderdale for the actual 420 Bud Bash down at Lalo's in Fort Lauderdale. And that's going to be even more music, more vendors, more fun, food. I mean, Cannabis Radio is going to be there. You got Mellow Fellow, and High Times Trucks is going to be there. So it's going to be a blast. So we're going to be down there. And then that night we hop on a plane, go up to Pennsylvania, and hit up the Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival. And that's always a great time because they get 50,000 people up there. So I'm excited for that too. Although not super excited about flying. Me and Colleen both don't like flying, but for different reasons. Like opposite reasons. No, not opposite, but there's Colleen doesn't like flying because, it's claustrophobic, flying, we're in the air. This thing isn't supposed to fly. These things go down, shit like that. Me, that's my favorite part. I like flying through the air. I'm like, holy shit, how are we doing this? How is this thing staying in the air? This is crazy. I like takeoff and landing, but I can't stand sitting in the seats because I'm 6'3" and 230 pounds now. Hopefully I lost a little weight. And it's just like, oh my God, I'm in this little seat. I hate this. And then walking through like the baggage, the just getting on and boarding, and the whole thing is just like, the process to me is just too much. If I could just get on the plane and then take off and then get off, it would be awesome. I need like a private jet, and I need to arrive like 2 minutes before takeoff. And I think that would be ideal for me. That would be ideal. And it should be a good pilot. Yeah, I think so. But yeah, that should be fun. So we'll have some content for you from that. Hopefully you guys are having a Good Friday. Get it? A Good Friday? Because it is Good Friday. It's also Good Friday. Easter is this weekend. Passover starts today. And then doesn't Ramadan start today too? It's like the religious trifecta, or what do you call those? What do you call those? The Christian-based religions like Islam and Judaism and Christianity. I forget. They're all called something. Monotheistic religions. It's like they're all converging today. The trifecta. So happy Easter. Oh, don't forget also on Easter on the 17th is the Florida Cup up in Tampa. Go check out Papa Bear extracts, or I seen that tripping bear on Instagram, and try and get tickets to that. That's the Florida Cup, second annual Florida Cup, where people are competing for, best flower, best concentrates, that kind of stuff. And that's going to be in the Tampa area, the North Tampa area. Don't want to forget to throw that shout out to them. So go check that out. There's a lot of stuff going on lately, a lot of stuff. And don't forget FIU. That's right. I'm going to be at FIU. Cannabis and psychedelics on campus, and like it's totally legit. Like you don't have to hide. And it's not in a room with like mushroom tapestries and things like that. I never forget the first time I took mushrooms and looked at a tapestry. I was like, oh, I get it now. They move when you look at them when you take mushrooms. It's like, that's why everybody has these hanging up everywhere. Yeah. I was that naive. I'm still that naive. What did I learn today? This morning was something that, tapestries. Speaking of tapestries, me and Colleen were talking about tapestries, and we got one for the bedroom. And she said, well, I was hoping it would dampen the sound a little bit. I'm like, oh no, you need like a tapestry for that. Like thinking of like the rugs they hang on the walls, and like Indiana Jones, the tapestries, and it just dawned on me. I'm almost 45 years old, mind you. I've done construction. I've done soundproofing, built soundproof rooms. It just dawned on me that they hang tapestries in castles to keep the echo down. How does that just dawn on me? Anyway, now that now that I've completely digressed. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful weekend, and I will see you Monday, I think, maybe. Or maybe we might just run a best of or a throwback on Monday from the 710 morning show. I know you guys want to see Nurse Colleen. So peace out. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.